Have you ever met someone who seemed like the answer to all your prayers, only to wonder years later if they were planting the seeds of your destruction from the very first handshake? What if the person who lifted you up was secretly digging a grave just beneath your feet? And how do you spot the poison in a cup of champagne when you're too busy toasting your own success? I still ask myself those questions every night, even now. Because back in 1995, when I was a wide-eyed 28-year-old accountant fresh out of night school in Chicago, Richard Hargrove, my soon-to-be mentor and the VP of operations at Sterling Financial, walked into my life like a knight in a Brooks Brothers suit, and I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. God, I worshipped that man, with his silver fox hair, his deep voice that could command a boardroom or soothe a panicked intern, and those eyes that twinkled like he saw something special in little old me, Sarah Jenkins, the girl from the wrong side of town who'd clawed her way into a junior role. He was already a legend at 52 for turning around failing divisions, and on my third week, he stopped by my cramped cubicle during a late audit, leaned over my shoulder, and said, "My work was sharper than half the seniors." My heart swelled so big I thought it'd burst, fear flickering just a bit, because who was I to impress a giant like him? But he brushed it aside, started dropping by with coffee, sharing war stories from his Yale days, and before I knew it, he was mentoring me personally, pulling strings for me to shadow him on big accounts, tension building in my chest every time he'd pat my shoulder and say, "You're going places, kid. Stick with me." Suspicion? Not a whiff. I was too grateful, too desperate to believe in heroes after my dad walked out when I was 12, leaving Mom to scrub floors while I promised myself I'd make it big for her. And Richard became that father figure, that guiding light, emotional shock hitting me soft and sweet when he invited me to his firm's holiday gala. Me in a borrowed dress feeling like Cinderella. Him introducing me as the future of Sterling to all the bigwigs. Questions swirled in my head even then, like why me? Why so fast? But I shoved them down, savoring the warmth of his approval. Our bond deepened over late nights poring over ledgers, him teaching me tricks no textbook covered, like spotting creative accounting before it bit you. And I'd feel this twist in my gut, a mix of fear that I'd disappoint him and tension that maybe, just maybe, I was finally safe with someone powerful watching my back. Reflecting now at 58, I see how naive that trust was, how it blinded me to the little things, like the way he'd glance at his watch during our talks, or the hushed phone calls he'd take in his office, voice dropping low and urgent. "Not now, damn it, I'll handle it." One evening, after a grueling merger close, he handed me a bonus check, double what I'd earned, and hugged me tight, whispering, "This is just the start, Sarah." And I cried right there, emotional punch landing so hard because for the first time, I felt seen, valued, unbreakable with him in my corner. But that night, alone in my tiny apartment, I found something that twisted everything. A small photo tucked in the lining of the jacket he'd left behind. A faded Polaroid of a young woman who looked eerily like me, staring out with haunted eyes. And on the back, in his handwriting, just 2 words. My regret. Who was she? And why did seeing her face make my blood run cold, like I'd just glimpsed the shadow he'd been hiding all along? What if the ladder you're climbing so fast was rigged to collapse the moment you reach the top? Ever trusted someone so completely that their smallest lie felt like a gift wrapped in concern? And how long can you ignore the creaks in the foundation before the whole house comes down on you? Those questions haunted me as my star rose under Richard's wing, faster than I could have dreamed. By spring of '96, just months after we met, he'd pushed me into senior analyst, skipping 2 levels, and the office buzzed with envy, but I just felt this electric fear-tension mix, scared I'd fumble it all, yet buzzing from his constant praise, like when he'd email me at midnight, "Nailed it again, Sarah. You're my secret weapon." Suspicion crept in tiny doses, like the way he'd vanish for hours with no explanation, or how his desk drawer always locked with a click that echoed in my suspicious mind. But I'd push it away, focusing on the emotional high of our private lunches, where he'd open up about his lonely divorce. No kids, just a big empty house in the suburbs. God, I ate it up, feeling this mature bond, reflective even then about how he'd filled the voids in my life. And my fiancé Tom, the sweet high school teacher I'd been with since college, started joking I was married to work now. But I didn't care, not when Richard secured me a spot on the Peterson merger, a multi-million-dollar deal that had me traveling with him to New York, first-class seats and hotel suites, tension spiking every time our hands brushed over deal memos. Emotional shocks came in waves, like the night in the hotel bar, 3 whiskeys in, when he teared up, confessing he'd always wanted a daughter like me, and I hugged him, heart aching for this powerful man, so vulnerable, questions burning. Was that why he chose me? Some fatherly ghost I was exercising for him? But the real twist hit during a late strategy session in his suite. I stepped out for ice, came back quiet, and overheard him on the phone, voice like gravel. If she gets too close, we bury it, permanently. My stomach dropped, fear clawing up my throat. Who was she, and why did bury sound so final? But I froze, didn't confront, told myself it was client talk, not me. And the next day, he acted normal, gifting me a gold watch engraved, "To my protege, R," deepening that suspicious loyalty. Suspense built as my bank account swelled with bonuses, Mom bragging to neighbors about her executive daughter, and Tom proposing with a ring we couldn't afford. But I said yes, dreaming of the wedding Richard promised to fund. Reflecting now, I see how he wove me tighter into his web. Every promotion, a hook, every confidence, a chain. Then, one crisp October morning, logging into my personal accounts before a board meeting he insisted I co-present, I saw it. $5,000 vanished from my savings overnight. No trace, no alert, just gone. And when I mentioned it casually to him later, his eyes flickered, just a second, before he said, "Hackers, probably. Don't worry, I'll look into it." But that flicker ignited pure terror in me. Because what if it wasn't hackers? What if it was something far closer to home? Ever felt the ground shift under you while someone's still smiling down from above? What happens when the man you call family starts whispering doubts about your own hands being dirty? And how do you question a hero without shattering your own world? Those riddles twisted my nights as cracks spiderwebbed through our perfect dynamic, starting small but slicing deep. By late '96, still under a year into our mentorship, I was Richard's right hand, handling sensitive audits, and the praise flowed. But fear gnawed constant now, especially after that missing money from my account, which he fixed by wiring me double back, tension coiling when he'd wink, "See, I take care of my own." Suspicion flared brighter during a company retreat in the Poconos. Could taste it. His hand on my shoulder feeling like a vice now, suspicion roaring as I replayed his late-night changes. Emotional punch after punch. Tom noticed my distance, our fights spiking over canceled dates, and Mom called worried. "You sound haunted, honey." Twists kept coming. I started tailing Richard on my lunch breaks, heart pounding in my beat-up Civic, watching him meet Elena in a diner, passing an envelope, her kissing his cheek before vanishing. And when I confronted him gently about stress, he turned it on me, eyes narrowing. "You're imagining things, Sarah. Paranoia doesn't suit you." But the audit deepened, and one evening, alone in the server room digging for backups, I saw it flash on screen. My name linked to a flagged wire transfer, $200K routed offshore, timestamped with my login. Pure setup. My hands shaking as realization dawned, fear choking me, because this wasn't error, this was sabotage. Then the email from compliance hit at midnight. Urgent audit on Jenkins, evidence of fraud. And Richard called seconds later, voice syrupy, "Come to my office now, we'll fix this together." But as I grabbed my coat, staring at that photo again, a new question earned hotter than ever. Was he protecting me or sealing my coffin? What if the evidence against you was forged by the one person swearing to save you? Ever watched your entire life unravel in a single meeting while smiles hid the knives? And how far would you fall before fighting back with everything you've got? Those desperate thoughts consumed me as the frame job tightened like a noose, starting that freezing December morning in '96 when HR summoned me to the boardroom, Richard at my side, his presence a twisted comfort. But the CFO slid a folder across. Embezzlement, Sarah, $750K over 6 months, all traced to your codes. Fear exploded, raw and blinding, my voice cracking denials as they listed dates matching my logins, forged so perfectly even I doubted myself. Tension suffocating as Richard squeezed my hand under the table, murmuring, "Stay calm, I've got lawyers on it." Suspicion? It was a wildfire now. I knew he'd altered those files, but proving it felt impossible. Emotional shockwave after wave, crashing as they suspended me without pay, my badge yanked like a death sentence. And by lunch, whispers filled the halls. She's cooked. Questions clawed at me. Why me after all he'd built me up to be? Reflective agony hit hardest that night, curled on Tom's couch, my fiancé who'd proposed just months ago, sobbing as I confessed the audit mess. He held me at first, but his eyes hardened with doubt. "Did you, Sarah? Even a little?" And the betrayal there gutted me deeper than Sterling's, our engagement ring feeling like lead on my finger. Twists piled on. I broke into Richard's public calendar online, saw gaps filled with consults to shell companies. And Elena, that Burnett lawyer from the retreat? A quick reverse image search on an old photo he'd left revealed her disbarred status, specializing in fraud covers, tension spiking as I connected dots to those offshore wires. The hammer fell 2 days later. FBI notice at my door, polite agents asking about irregularities, Richard's call right after. Say nothing without me. Trust me, kid. But I didn't. Fear drove me to his office after hours, badge still buzzing me in one last time, heart slamming as I rifled drawers. Bingo. A burner phone with texts to Elena. Jenkins is perfect. Clean record. No one suspects the protege. Emotional punch so brutal I nearly vomited, realizing he'd groomed me as his fall guy from day one. That photo girl's regret, now my nightmare. Suspicion turned to rage, but justice? Not yet. I copied files to a hidden floppy, barely escaping when a security light flickered on. Home, Tom waited with boxes. "I can't, Sarah. If you're guilty." He left, door slamming my world shut. Apartment lost to unpaid rent, Mom's voice trembling on the phone. "Fight it, baby." Alone, broke, hunted, I stared at the files, questions howling. Confront him and risk everything, or play his game smarter? Then the cliffhanger call came at 2 a.m., Richard's voice cold for the first time. "I know you were in my office tonight. Let's talk, or the feds get the full tape tomorrow." Ever held proof of betrayal in your hands and still questioned your own sanity? What if the monster you trusted started hunting you in the shadows? And how much would you risk to turn hunter yourself? Those razor-sharp queries fueled my underground days starting early '97, just weeks after that terrifying office call from Richard. Months of hiding had passed since my firing, and the situation had worsened into full paranoia as I dodged eviction in a seedy motel with my life savings down to hundreds, fear my constant shadow, tension ratcheting every time a car slowed outside. Suspicion owned me. I couldn't sleep without checking locks thrice, emotional shocks replaying, Tom's goodbye, Mom's recent cancer diagnosis slipping in a voicemail I couldn't afford to answer, all while Richard played savior publicly, leaking concerned mentor quotes to the press, painting me as troubled. Questions gnawed. Was the photo girl his victim too, or leverage? Reflective nights with that floppy disk taught me patience. I pored over copies at a library computer, decoding his tweaks, uncovering the motherlode. Years of skims, 2 million funneled to Cayman shells via fake vendors called Phoenix, my codes stamped last like a signature. Twist after twist. One file linked to Elena Voss, Richard's disbarred lawyer. And buried deeper, divorce papers showing his ex-wife never existed, just a P.O. box for tax dodges. Rage built slow, moral layers thickening as I weighed whistleblowing versus survival, but fear spiked when a motel clerk slipped me mail. Anonymous note, stop digging or join your dad. Dad? He died in a car accident when I was 10. Coincidence? Tension peaked as I tailed Elena to a warehouse meet, hiding in my car, snapping photos of Richard handing her a briefcase, their whispers about cleaning the Jenkins trail. Emotional punch? I was disposable, a pawn in their empire. Back in hiding, I reached out to an old college prof for forensics help, mailing anonymized files. His reply confirmed. Ironclad forgery, but traceable to Hargrove IP. Victory tasted like ash. I needed more. One stormy night, desperation peaked. I'd swiped Richard's spare office key months back and slipped into Sterling after midnight, alarms beeping my pulse, rifling his safe. Jackpot. Ledgers matching my bisque, plus a letter from the photo girl, revealed as his daughter, Lily, disowned for asking too many questions, vanished in '85. Heart-shattering, I realized he recycled betrayals, using me as Lily 2.0. But as I zipped evidence into my bag, the door creaked, footsteps, heavy and deliberate, and Richard's voice sliced the dark. I knew you'd come back, Sarah. Now, let's end this. What if the walls of your life closed in faster than you could run? Ever looked in the mirror and seen a stranger forged by someone else's lies? And how long can fear sharpen into a weapon before it cuts you first? Those haunting riddles defined my fugitive blur through spring '97. More months passed, and the situation worsened as I couch-surfed friends' spares after bolting from that office confrontation with Richard. Every knock a paranoia spike. Tension so visceral I tasted blood from bitten lips. Fear ruled. FBI visited Mom's, routine, scaring her into silence. My name smeared in headlines as fugitive bookkeeper. Suspicion layered thicker. That note about Dad? Digging old clippings revealed witness tampering whispers in his accident. Richard's firm auditing that client then. Emotional shocks compounded. Mom's chemo bills I couldn't pay. Her weak pleas, come home, Sarah, twisting my resolve. Questions swirled. Was Lily, the daughter from the photo, alive, or had he buried her too? Reflective solitude in bus stations honed my plan. I dyed my hair, took diner shifts under Jenny, mailing tips to a journalist buddy anonymously, testing waters without full exposure. Twists emerged. Elena's car exploded in a faulty brake fail days after my warehouse pics hit a dark web drop. Accident or Richard tying loose ends? Terror surged. I was next, but I condensed my escapes to one swift move to a new hideout after spotting a tail. Emotional punch when an online whistleblower from Sterling, who I'd call Mark, sent a file on Richard's family. Fake wife was Elena's aunt. Lily's disappearance, a paid relocation to Canada under new name. Alive but silenced with hush money. Rage simmered. Moral quandary biting. Expose and risk Mom or fade away? I chose fight, renting a P.O. box for evidence drops. Then the anonymous tip that froze my blood. An envelope at the diner, no postmark, photos of me at the library, time-stamped yesterday, with a note, "We see you. Resign quietly, or Mom's next." Heart pounding, ever built a house of cards from razor blades, knowing one breath could end it all? What if turning an enemy's ally required becoming the monster you hate? And how do you balance justice with the blood it draws from innocence? Those perilous thoughts steeled me through summer '97. Another stretch of months passed, the pressure mounting as I holed up in a cheap Ohio rental under false ID, fear my alarm clock as Richard's net tightened. Press now called me the vanishing thief, bounties whispered. Tension was oxygen. Every call to Mom a risk, her voice frailer. When are you coming back? Suspicion everywhere. I ghosted Mark, that online Sterling whistleblower, after tracing his IP to a VPN near Chicago. Possible trap, but his last file, gold. Richard's bribe ledger, politicians named. Emotional shocks kept coming. Tom's engagement announcement in the paper. My ex-fiancé moving on with a new girl. Gutted. But it fueled me, reflective wisdom dawning that trust was a luxury I'd never reclaim. Questions about Lily obsessed me. I tracked her alias to a Toronto suburb. Anonymous letter pleading, "He's evil, help me speak." Alliance born. Twists accelerated. Posing as a recruiter, I charmed Richard's exec assistant, Gina, a lonely widow in her 50s, over coffee meets. Her role clear as his gatekeeper. Weeks of vent sessions yielded USB's emails, proving he framed me to cover a $10 million hole from bad trades. Moral layer weighed heavy. Gina risked her job, tears in her eyes. He ruins everyone eventually. Building the case became ritual, collating docs, timeline maps pinning him, anonymous leaks to SEC tip line testing ripples. Stock dipped, board whisper started. Fear spiked when my Ohio landlord knocked, visitor asking for Jenny. One quick escape to a Milwaukee flophouse later, tension peaking as news broke. Hargrove sues ex-protege for theft. He was baiting me. Then, deepest twist yet. Lily's follow-up package included a DNA test stub. Tested against you. Matches. He's your father, Sarah. Abandoned me, now you. World tilted. Emotional devastation crashing. All those daughter confessions, grooming his own blood for sacrifice. Rage purified, but a call from Gina that night shattered peace. He's on to the leaks, coming for me, and he mentioned your mom. What if the ultimate betrayal was written in your own bloodline? Ever stared down a father who saw you only as collateral? And how do you weaponize family secrets without losing your soul? Those soul-searing questions ignited my calculated storm in fall '97. Time blurred in hiding, but the noose tightened as I stayed in that Milwaukee flophouse, fear now a cold fire. Richard's threat to Gina via Mom, bluff or blade, it didn't matter. I wired her anonymous funds, moved her to a safe nursing home. Tension hummed constant, every shadow his, suspicion turning me feral. I cut all ties, communicated via dead drops. Emotional shocks layered like scars. Lily's DNA proof that she was my half-sister meant my absent dad lie to Mom was his lie too. He'd known, used it to bind me closer. Reflective bitterness hit hard. I'd been his redemption fantasy, then his scapegoat when I got too smart, like Lily. Questions raged. Why frame his daughter? Greed, or to bury Phoenix deeper? Twists unraveled fast. Gina's final drop before vanishing. Richard's therapy notes, confessing jealousy of successful kids, targeting me post-Lily's betrayal by threatening to expose him. Moral complexity deepened. Revenge tempted shortcuts, like doxing Elena's hideout, but I held for airtight justice. Alliance grew. Lily flew in secret, her haunted eyes mirror to mine, sharing tales of his control, forging our pact. Full dossier to feds, timed perfectly. Suspense built as I leaked affair pics to tabloids. Elena, his crooked lawyer, exposed. Richard's devoted bachelor, image cracked, board probing. Fear crested when a tail clipped me downtown, Richard's Mercedes idling blocks away. One evasive turn and I lost him. Emotional punch, Mom's letter. I knew about him. Forgive me for hiding to protect you. Betrayal squared, but love endured. Then Elena surfaced, cornering me in a park bench meet I'd baited. He'll pay me to deliver you or join me for 20% of the take. Ever watched a king's court crumble from the whispers you planted? What if your enemy's desperation made them your unwitting confessor? And how do you dodge the fallout when the mighty start swinging wild? Those thrilling yet terrifying riddles powered my endgame push Winter 97. Winter deepened the isolation, but my leaks gained momentum as Richard's stock tanked 15%, mistresses outing him on talk shows, board demanding audits. Fear sharpened my edges. Elena's offer? I played along, recording her gloating. He framed you clean, but cut me in, we flip it on him. Tension electric, every meet a wire-wrapped trap. Suspicion of her double-cross kept me steps ahead. Lily monitored from afar, our sister bond steel. Emotional shocks layered like scars. Lily's DNA proof that she was my half-sister meant my absent dad lie to mom was his lie too. He'd known, used it to bind me closer. Reflective bitterness hit hard. I'd been his redemption fantasy, then his scapegoat when I got too smart, like Lily. Questions raged. Why frame his daughter? Greed, or to bury Phoenix deeper? Twists unraveled fast. Gina's final drop before vanishing, Richard's therapy notes, confessing jealousy of successful kids, targeting me post Lily's betrayal by threatening to expose him. Moral complexity deepened. Revenge tempted shortcuts, like doxing Elena's hideout, but I held for airtight justice. Alliance grew. Lily flew in secret, her haunted eyes mirror to mine, sharing tales of his control, forging our pact. Full dossier to feds, timed perfectly. Suspense built as I leaked affair pics to tabloids. Elena, his crooked lawyer, exposed. Richard's devoted bachelor image cracked, board probing. Fear crested when a tail clipped me downtown. Richard's Mercedes idling blocks away. One evasive turn and I lost him. Emotional punch. Mom's letter. I knew about him. Forgive me for hiding to protect you. Betrayal squared, but love endured. Then Elena surfaced, cornering me in a park bench meet I'd bigoted. He'll pay me to deliver you or join me for 20% of the take. Ever watched a king's court crumble from the whispers you planted? What if your enemy's desperation made them your unwitting confessor? And how do you dodge the fallout when the mighty start swinging wild? Those thrilling yet terrifying riddles powered my endgame push Winter 97. Winter deepened the isolation, but my leaks gained momentum as Richard's stock tanked 15%, mistresses outing him on talk shows, board demanding audits. Fear sharpened my edges. Elena's offer? I played along, recording her gloating. He framed you clean, but cut me in, we flip it on him. Tension electric, every meet a wire-wrapped trap. Suspicion of her double-cross kept me steps ahead. Lily monitored from afar, our sister bond steel. Emotional shocks layered like scars. Gina, Richard's former exec assistant, surfaced in witness protection, confessing she'd been his mole once, tears for almost destroying you. Reflective growth bloomed. I pitied his emptiness, but justice demanded price. Questions evolved. Would feds bite without my testimony? Twists piled. A board ally named Victor, Gina's contact, a VP tired of Richard's games, fed me override codes for Sterling servers, downloading final proof. Richard's Phoenix as Ponzi core, 20 million vaporized. Allies turned in mass. Victor rallied 3 VPs, leaking internally. Even CFO flipped, hating Richard's arrogance. Suspense crested as police questioned me in a staged tip bust. I lawyered up, free via Lily's pro bono, dropping hints that boomeranged to Richard. Moral layer strained. Tabloid war collateral. His fake wife's family evicted. Innocent lives upended. Guilt gnawed, but his evil outweighed. Elena's deal meet? Hidden cam rolling as she detailed the frame. Then Richard burst in early, eyes wild. You traitorous bitch! But I was gone, footage gold. Police hauled me again, days later, new evidence on Hargrove. Heart soaring, but the real hook? As they released me, my phone buzzed, unknown number playing Richard's voice. Sarah, please, I recorded everything. Meet me or it all burns. What if revenge's sweetest fruit was laced with poison you had to swallow too? Ever pushed a domino that toppled your own fragile peace? And how do you face the mirror after allies bleed for your war? Those conflicted queries defined the frenzy of early '98. As seasons turned, the endgame accelerated with SEC raids on Sterling, headlines screaming Hargrove's empire of lies, his face gaunt on TV denying it all. Fear mutated to graphic. I ruined you to save myself. Heart pounding, I bolted as sirens wailed outside. FBI swarming. My anonymous tip timed perfect. Tension climaxed in chaos. Agents cuffing him mid-sob. Sarah, mercy. His eyes locking mine. Realization dawning. Betrayal complete. But as they dragged him away, his final snarl chilled. This isn't over. Your next daughter. What if justice's echo left you emptier than the crime? Ever claimed victory only to mourn the girl you buried along the way? And how do you rebuild when trust's ashes are all that's left? Those profound echoes resonate still, 2 decades on, as Richard's empire imploded that fateful spring morning in '98. FBI raid televised, agents hauling boxes from Sterling, his tear-streaked face pleading no comment as cameras flashed. Confession tape unsealed in court days later, every lie exposed. 22 million fraud, frames including mine, Dad's hit confirmed via Elena's, his crooked lawyer's corroboration. Fear dissolved in the courtroom gallery, tension releasing as judge denied bail, his eyes finding me across the room, defeated, broken, whispering, "Forgive me." Emotional payoff crashed, not glee, but catharsis, tears for Lily, my half-sister, beside me, Mom squeezing my hand from the back row, her quiet, "It's over, baby." Twists resolved. Victor, the bored ally, got probation for flipping. Gina, Richard's ex-assistant, a book deal. Elena, 5 years reduced. My countersuit? Millions. But I donated most to fraud victims, keeping enough for Mom's care and a quiet life. Suspicion faded. Reflective wisdom bloomed in the years after. Richard died in prison '05. Suicide note to me. You won fair. I was always the weak one. Moral layers settled. Revenge healed but scarred. I forgave not for him, but me. Rebuilding with Tom, yes, we reconciled. Lily as sister, a small consulting firm on honesty. Questions linger softly. Was I ruined or remade? Looking back at 58, I see the girl who trusted too much became the woman who trusted herself. And that, friends, is the real ruin turned triumph. If this confession moved you, hit like, subscribe for more raw truths, and share your own betrayals below. We heal together.